Hello people, and welcome to Crypto Exposed. Pundits suggest $50 XRP price might not be enough for mass adoption, but there's a catch. Okay guys, let's get into it. So, I'm in a period now where I'm doing quite a lot of debunking, so I have to kind of apologize to my audience because I feel like, my regular viewers, I mean, you guys know what I'm about anyway. Like, if you guys are regular viewers on my channel, you know what I believe and what I don't believe. So, you know, this is the kind of stuff that I like to do. But I find it sometimes like my audience might get a bit depressed in some of these videos because, like, I feel like I'm crushing dreams at times, right? But I've got to do this because this is my obligation as a content creator. I always have to give my honest opinion, right? So here I am yet again. Okay, so we've got a guy here, I think it's Lord Vendetta, but I'll have a look in a second to clarify. But the guy's basically saying that $50 for XRP, it's just not enough for XRP to handle the kind of volume that they're going to be doing, etc. And, once again, I have to get in here and, address this kind of stuff because this is the kind of thing for me that I just find a little bit dangerous, when people are talking about things. First and foremost, they're talking in things like it's a guarantee, like it's a fact. And two, when a lot of people don't really understand what they're saying. So it's like they know a little bit of information. And to be honest with you, they're probably getting some of this from influencers as well, in all honesty. But they know enough information to say certain things. But, when you really look at it, it doesn't really make sense, or, it's kind of like, yeah, you're a bit misinformed, no, or you're getting it a bit wrong. So let's get into this. So we've got a post and I'll quickly get down to it. Okay, so here it is. We've got Lord Vendetta. I'm not going to read the whole post, but I'll give you a general gist of it. So he says, if XRP were priced at $50, around 20 billion tokens would be needed daily to move $1 trillion, which is 40% of the circulating supply. Do you really think $50 is enough? $100, $500, $1,000? LOL. $50 is nothing. 40% of the supply just to move 1 trillion. Okay. So let's really get into this then. Okay. All right, first and foremost, they're talking about moving $1 trillion. Look, guys, that's just not a fact. We don't know what XRP is going to be handling. And this is what I mean. Like, even before we get into talking about, like, is this accurate or whatever, it's like, is this even true, right? You're saying, yeah, it's going to need to be like more than $50 to handle like 1 trillion plus, etc. How do you know XRP will be handling 1 trillion plus? Right? Like, so even with that, like, you jump into conclusions that are not solidified yet, right? We don't know that for sure, and again, like, I understand that there are people out there who are of the thought that every bank in the world will be using XRP at the drop of a hat when they flip the switch. I get that. And if that's what you want to believe, then okay. I've said many reasons as to why I don't think that is likely or logical. In terms of like every bank using XRP, first and foremost, I doubt that very much. Like, I highly doubt that will happen. And two, one thing I will say, if not about that, it's not going to happen on one day. I personally am like, I'm like 99.9% confident. The only reason why I leave the 1% out is because I can't guarantee anything either. So I'm not going to sit here and say it's a guarantee that won't happen because I can't give guarantees either. But I'm as sure as I can be that is not going to happen. That, they just flip a switch one day and then every bank is just using XRP in one day. Like, that's just, let me just give you one example as to why I don't think that would happen. You've got JP Morgan, right, who have created JP Morgan coin, which is their own cryptocurrency. And they already are trying to create their own crypto. So are they going to drop using their own crypto to use XRP? I doubt it, right? If anything, they're probably making that crypto, one, so they can keep, everything in-house rather than having to potentially, go to Ripple or use an external crypto. They'd rather just use their own crypto. And two, because again, it's control, right? Like, it's all within their own, their own business, and they'll probably want to compete, right? They might even want to compete. Now, just quickly, I don't think banks will want to really go to JP Morgan as much, just because again, if you start using their crypto, you're then kind of at the mercy of JP Morgan, right? So you kind of relinquishing a bit of control to that bank as well. So I get that. But the general gist is what I'm saying is not every bank is going to want to jump over to XRP. That's just the point that I'm making, okay? So let's get into this in terms of like the whole thing of what he's saying here. So the first thing I'll say about this, guys, is like, we've discussed this numerous times, but again, let me just explain. ODL, right, is demand neutral. And we know this for a fact because this was actually said in the SEC versus Ripple lawsuit. What does demand neutral mean? It means that basically it doesn't affect the price. It doesn't. Why? Because it's supply and demand happening in 3 seconds. So you make a transaction, right? XRP is brought to do the transaction. It is then sold to convert into the other currency. So it's brought and sold. Supply, demand, brought, sold. It's happening in 3 seconds. So other people have said this as well, but yes, it's common sense. How are you saying that it's going to need this price if it can do these types of transfers in 3 seconds, right? Like in 3 seconds, the transfer is done. So that same XRP that was used to do that one transaction can then be used again after 3 seconds, right? So we've then got a bit of a rebuttal here from Lord Vendetta, basically saying, hey, I'll get to the post, so I'll just read the post for you guys. Okay, so another guy said, here, daily, XRP could move all that in 3 seconds. What are you doing with the same XRP for the rest of the day? Exactly, just what I've elaborated on. So this is like people who understand, like, it's common sense, to be honest with you. But yeah, I completely agree with that. So Lord Vendetta has then said, okay, even if XRP can be recycled every 3 seconds, without having a super liquid XRP, it will not work. So imagine XRP can be recycled every 3 seconds and super liquid to move mass amount of money without friction. So, okay. So he's basically saying, you're still going to need a highly liquid, asset to be able to do this without issues, right? In terms of like handling such large amounts of money. Now, I'm actually going to go to another guy's post here. Like, I agree with this, and this is what I would say myself, but I'll get to the post and then elaborate. So we've got this guy called Crypto Arsenal who just comes with an amazing answer to that. So he says, show me anyone that has moved 1 trillion all at once. Swift moves 5 trillion a day via 44 million transactions. 2. If 40% of the supply was used to make a 1 trillion transaction, that same 40% would theoretically then be available for use again within 3 to 5 seconds. So the 3 to 5 seconds, the second point, is the one that we've already just said like earlier about it settles pretty much instantly, right? But the first point is what's also important here. This is what I mean when people don't really understand what they're talking about. It's like, you're talking about like 1 trillion, but like they're not just going to move $1 trillion. Like it's not like they're just making transfers of $1 trillion and moving that around. Like these are broken up transfers. Like this is a total amount. It's not like banks are just saying, oh, hey, we need to send $1 trillion over there. No, this is like lots of broken down transfers that's happening. And this is what I'm saying. A lot of people don't understand what they're saying. They just hear these numbers and they're not thinking it all the way through. They're just hearing like real high numbers, and like the way they speak, it is with such confidence that it sounds like they know what they're talking about, but they don't really, right? They don't fully understand what they're saying. So yeah, like I'll be honest with you guys, this doesn't necessarily need to be a high figure, right? Like, like don't get me wrong, the higher the price, the better it would be. I'm not trying to say that doesn't hold any weight. It does. But what I'm saying is when they talk about like it needs to be this amount or whatever, no, it doesn't. And just think about it right now. We've got like, as far as we're aware, we've got 300 partnerships, right? So there's banks using ODL as we speak. And, what's the price been, right? The price has been like, 30 cents at one point. We're at like $2 roughly now, maybe a bit lower. I'm not sure. But do you see what I'm saying? Like, it's been handling it fine, just a few cents. Now, obviously, we're not talking about all the banks in the world and stuff like that. So I get there's a big difference in terms of the amount of banks using it currently. But this is, again, more to my point, right? Like, I don't believe you're just going to one day turn over and every day, every bank is using XRP. I don't believe in that flip the switch stuff. So to me, like, the idea of saying, hey, one day we just flip the switch and then every bank is just using XRP. I just don't believe that. So, like for me, like getting into that kind of, talk, no, that's not logical either. So in my eyes, guys, like in terms of saying it needs to be higher and things like that, like, no, it doesn't necessarily work like that, guys. Now, I'm not saying that prices can't go higher, etc. and stuff like that, but, there's going to be more factors than just ODL that would depend on this, right? Like, because this is the thing. I think a lot of people who've come into XRP, they look at ODL as the sole winner to make XRP so great, right? Like, people just look at ODL because they think about all the banks using XRP, right? And that's their main thing. There's going to be other factors, guys. There's going to be things like the AMM, total value locked. There's going to be tokenization. There's going to be plenty of other use cases that are going to add to this other than just ODL. And so, when people, keep thinking this kind of stuff in terms of, the price and where it's going, like, just do a bit more research. That's all I can say, guys, because, once you like really think this through properly and understand how these markets work and stuff, you'll understand that some of this stuff that people say on, X and stuff like that, they don't fully get what they're talking about. They just don't. I'm sorry, they don't. And I'll get it in my comment section as well. Like, I'll do videos like this and then people will jump in and I'll have something to say and they'll come with a post that I can, counter. And then once I counter it, they'll just go quiet. It happens all the time. But, I'm not here to act like I'm a know-it-all. Like I've always said, like, if people can show me something about XRP that I'm not aware of that could make me change my mind. Like, for example, if someone came to me with like a theory about XRP in $10,000 and they showed me enough data and evidence as to why they think it's plausible, I would actually then say, hey, you know what? I used to think this, but I've now seen this from this person. I'd do a video on it and say, look, this is what they've said. I now believe XRP can hit $10,000. I would do that because I'm not here to be egotistical. It's not that I'm here to be like mocking people or anything like that. I want people to learn so they can have a fully informed decision when they talk about investing and stuff. Like, I just want people to understand how this stuff works. So if someone is to here showing me something that I didn't know, I'd take that on board because that'd be great. I'd be like, hey, actually, I didn't think about that. That's right, actually. And I'd change my stance. That, I'm not going to be here being egotistical and just standing here being wrong, because then I'd be thinking, hey, XRP can hit these numbers. That's great. Like, I'm now actually looking at getting way more money out of my XRP than I originally thought. But no one yet has been able to do any of that. And when I cover these subjects of $10,000 and stuff like that, I can always poke holes in their theories. Like, nothing has so far come along to me where I'm like, yeah, I can't argue with that. That's fair. A lot of it is like conspiracy theory stuff. A lot of it, you can see flaws in the logic. It like doesn't make sense. And a lot of it is like hopium, just, okay, every bank behind the scenes are using XRP. There's no proof of that. There's no proof of that. So you can say those things, but if you can't prove it, what good is it, right? If I turn around to you and said, yeah, did you know that the sky is secretly green? But, the reason why they don't tell you is because, the government are trying to keep you from seeing the truth. It's like, well, yeah, I can say that, but, I've got no evidence to back it up. So I just sound like a crazy person, right? Like, that's just what it is. So if you can provide evidence and stuff to just back it up rather than just like talking about like, hope and just not things that, where you have to just have people to like trust your word with no real evidence. Cool. Bring it forward. Like, that's what I say. I'm all about that. But if you're just talking about things that you don't really understand, or you just, drawing these conclusions that you're just making up and putting 2 and 2 together and getting 5, that to me, it's not going to work for me personally. So yeah, this is just another one of those, be careful guys, some people out there don't always know exactly what they're talking about, but yeah, there's nothing to this, guys, at all. This is just another one of those, nothing to see here. Let's just move on. Thank you very much for watching this. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And hit that bell. Take care.